Welcome to Cognitive Connections, where we're dedicated to helping you preserve and strengthen brain health at every stage of life. I'm Nandita Srikumar, the president and founder of Cognitive Connections. And as a reminder, this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to provide medical advice or diagnosis. And today we have with us Amy Decker. Miss Amy Decker began her journey in senior care in 2013 at an elder law firm, growing from assistant to HR manager while coordinating large scale events like the Elder Concert in Florida. Her passion for seniors has led her to become the director of client services at Senior Helpers in South Palm Beach County in 2019, while also serving as a dedicated hospice volunteer and patient advocate since 2017. I'm so grateful to have you here. Thank you so much for joining the Cognitive Connections podcast.
I feel honored. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. And I guess with that being said, I think we can get started. And the first
Great.
question that I really have is, in your experience, what are some of the early signs of cognitive decline or dementia that families often tend to overlook?
So we find that, and I've learned this with so many of the classes that I've taken, is the first thing they start doing is they have difficulty problem solving. So, for instance, if they've left a coffee mug on the kitchen counter, in their mind, they're thinking somebody's coming in at night and stealing stuff out of the cabinet, leaving it on the counter, versus the coffee cup's on the counter and I forgot to do dishes. So they have difficulty solving problems. You may find changes in their mood or even their behavior. Certain times of the day, they may have what they call sundowning, where their mood changes dramatically. It can go from being pleasant and nice to combative and completely confused and not sure where they are or what's going on. Um, they may even have a problem finding words. Like, for instance, they may want to empty the garbage can and they'll say, "Oh, go get that the thingamajig underneath the whatchamacallit," because they can't come up with the word garbage can. They may even pull back a little bit more too. They may have dinner with friends every Wednesday night or play cards on Friday night, but now they've decided, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm gonna stay home because they know something's going on and they don't want to embarrass themselves. So sometimes you'll see those patterns and not really understand what's going on, but those are some of the early warning signs right there.
Okay, so it's really just paying attention to the very small and minute things in that sense, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Got it. And our next question is, why is it really so important to prioritize brain health as we age? And what are some of the biggest misconceptions around both aging and memory?
Making sure your brain is healthy offers really long-lasting benefits, and there's so many things you can do to keep your brain healthy. Um, it's what we eat, what we drink, what we have stored in our mind. Our environment has a lot to do with it as well. One of the biggest misconceptions is people feel that memory loss, severe memory loss, is part of normal aging, and it's not. Severe memory loss, a little bit of changes that can be one thing, but significant loss in memory absolutely is not normal. And that's definitely something that can be a misconception that they think that, oh, they forgot, so that's okay. So it's a really good thing to keep an eye on that.
Okay. So really noticing how those, I guess, those small things eventually, change into those larger patterns, I think that can be a clear indication of, okay, maybe this is not exactly what's the correct process of aging
Right,
almost.
right. Like getting confused, confusion, getting lost in time, not remembering where they are at the time. They go out for a walk around the block and then they get lost and can't come back. So there's definitely things that is not normal aging. That's definitely something's definitely wrong there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm.
And what are some lifestyle habits that you've seen that really make the biggest difference in helping to preserve brain function, especially as we continue to age?
So, like I'd mentioned previously, so the foods we eat, what we drink, alcohol, an overabundance of alcohol, an overabundance and/or using pain medications to an extreme. Sometimes we get very stressed out with our life. So, for many, they choose to go to alcohol or medications to kind of calm themselves down. Using healthy ways to manage stress is really most important. So healthier habits, what we eat, what we drink, the medications that we choose to take, even excessive surgeries or operations where you have to have anesthesia, that too can definitely cause a problem and really exceed the amount of time that it would have for somebody to set into having brain disorder or memory impairment.
Okay. Yeah, that kind of almost ties into like the five pillars of brain health that, like Cognitive Connections uses for like all of our different outreach programs. So
Right.
like you said, the nutrition, the physical exercise, the emotional well-being, cognitive fitness, and also like how much their sleep that they're getting on a day-to-day basis.
Yes.
I think it's kind of that whole concept. It's not just one thing, but it's all of these things that really tie into brain health.
Right. It's like a puzzle piece of a lot of things. And I think that interesting that you brought up sleep because too much sleep is just as
Yeah.
bad as not enough sleep. So getting
Hmm.
too many hours of sleep isn't good for your brain, and it's not any better than if you're not getting enough sleep. So just if we can do everything with a balance, everything in balance really is what is the best way to keep your brain healthy.
Yeah, it's like playing the Goldilocks game. If it's too hot, too cold, or just right.
Right, right, exactly, exactly.
Yeah. So how can caregivers support their loved ones while also protecting their own mental health, their emotional well-being, and brain health? Because I've seen it like a huge issue currently where like caregivers are also like much more likely to develop forms of dementia and
Yep.
neurodegenerative diseases, especially when they're trying to care for other loved ones as well.
Exactly. Caregiver burnout is a real thing. It's a real thing. And very often the caregiver will get sick and sometimes even pass before the one that they're caring for. So they have to find ways to live healthy for themselves. One of the things that you can do that really is very helpful, I find, is not to argue with the person that has memory impairment or dementia. They're try and live within their reality. If they're asking you 57 times what they're going to have for dinner, or when are we going to go for a walk around the block, or where is my husband, live in their reality and try really hard to not argue because you're not going to be able to change their mindset. Their narrative is
Mhm.
what's ever going on in their brain. That helps so much to relieve stress because once you start arguing, now you're stressed out. Now you're both arguing. So that's a big one. That can kind of keep a calm mood around the household. And that's the most important thing to do is not to keep anybody agitated, including yourself. Also, caregivers need to learn to take time out for themselves. They have to set boundaries. It's really easy if you're a caregiver, especially if you're a spouse or a child that you're thinking, well, it's my mom or it's my husband or whatever. I really should be there for them. But if you burn yourself out, you're no good to anybody, most importantly yourself. So that's not good. And first and foremost, or last and final, I hold several caregiver support groups within the Palm Beach County area. Those are crucial to find a really good support group because now you're sitting in a room with 15 other people or seven other people that know exactly what you're going through. So you can have a really rotten day and show up at a support group, and three of the people in there are going to understand you. You can have a rotten day and talk to your next door neighbor, they're not going to understand you. Then you're frustrated. You find a good core of people in a support group that are on your same journey. It's a beautiful thing, and it's really been a lifesaver for a lot of the members in my support group. So I have to say, number one, find a good support group because they'll all walk you through what you need to do to make it easier for yourself.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And in terms of social support groups, I mean, it's not just the ones that are like in person, there's a lot of online social support groups that
Yes.
are also getting built with the whole
Hmm.
social media platform that we have. So I think in
Yep.
that sense, there's just so many resources. And I think it's really important for caregivers to kind of explore what those resources are so that they can help themselves while also helping their loved ones through this journey.
100% I agree with you. Yep.
Hmm. So, can you, in that sense, kind of tying with the social connections, can you explain actually how social connection plays a role in maintaining cognitive health, especially as we get older?
So, social connections are really very critical. It keeps the mind active. It gives them something to look forward to. It gives them a purpose. One of the things I talk about a lot of times in my support groups is we are born with a purpose. As soon as we can start remembering or thinking, we can't wait to go to school. I can't wait to ride a bike. I can't wait to go to junior high. I can't wait to ride a car or get my driver's license. I
Yeah.
want to get married. I want to go to college. I want to buy a business. I want to, then all of a sudden you reach a certain age and now you can't drive your car anymore. Now you've got somebody coming in to help you around the home. Now someone's got to help you stand by assist in the shower. Now they don't want you touching the stove. So all these wonderful things that you're born with, that give you purpose when you wake up in the morning and your eyes open up, you figure out, what am I going to do today? There's nothing there. There's nothing left. So a lot of people lose their purpose and they get very depressed, then they don't want to get out of bed. So if you can continue that social interaction, it's going to give them something to look forward to. It's whether it's go to the library, whatever it can be. If you live in an assisted living community, go to the activities, whether it's bingo or play cards. Even if you don't interact, go to it. It keeps your mind so active. It's just really important that socially, and it also helps you not only socially, but it helps you physically, mentally. All of those resources are all put together to keep your body and your brain healthy. Um, and again, you have a purpose. There's a reason to get up in the morning versus I have nothing to do today. So, planning little lunches with your friends, that's important too.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like at the end of the day, it's almost like the mental stimulation that you need for your brain. I mean, it can
Mhm.
really come through so many different forms, whether it's the social support groups that are in person or online, or like you said, doing some kind of exercise, starting a picnic with your friends. I think
Right.
it's really the stimulation that you're giving to your brain that keeps it active and
Yes.
allows you to like continue your life in a fulfilling way.
Right. And we find with a lot of our patients or residents or clients, if they are sitting around all day long doing nothing but watching TV, they can't sleep at night because their
Yeah.
brain isn't active. So we even for those that have severe memory impairment, we'll give them a big laundry basket full of socks or towels to fold or rearrange the silverware drawer. Whatever it is, as long as it's not hurting somebody, it's giving their mind something to do versus just sitting there stagnant watching,
Mm.
Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy. They've got to do something else with
Yeah.
their brain, or they can't sleep at night. They're not doing anything physically or
Mhm.
mentally, and their brain's going off all night, or their body doesn't want to go to sleep. So it's healthier for the whole body.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And what role does routine play in supporting those living with dementia? And how can families help to create this kind of supportive environment for them?
Routine is so key. Routine is so key with those with memory impairment. And we even find those that the families decide to move them into like maybe a memory care or an assisted living. They've lost their routine. Their little brain at that point is like a snow globe flying around. So we try really hard when we do move them into a new place to set the room up exactly like it looked like at home. So they've got the couch that they like to sit on. There's the kitchen table that they like to, the bedspread that they're used to. Often families will move their loved ones in a community and say, oh, we're getting a new couch. We're going to get rid of all that, old stuff. We're going to get a new comforter. No, get the comforter that's old and pilled. Put that on their bed. That's going to bring them comfort. They have to get into that routine again. And it's really critical. They find, even going into the dining room, we'll hire caregivers to go with them to get them into the dining room, to get them situated at a table. Because after a while, then they know who sits where at what table and who sits in that chair. And after a while, they're going to know who's not sitting in the right spot because routine is how they keep their brain kind of put together. So that's really important. And again, it just helps to make them feel more at home. And it's comforting to them. We find too, if a loved one goes into memory care or an assisted living, a lot of times the family members want to come and get them and take them out and take them shopping or take them to a restaurant or come on over to my house for. They don't like it. They're really finding comfort in. So after 20 minutes, they're like, okay, I'm ready to go home now. I need to go home. This is not my home. They want to be in the comforts of what they're used to. So it can be, leave them where they are. Don't think taking them out is a benefit to them because really they want to stay within their routine wherever they live. So, like you said, it's critical.
Yeah, and I mean, routine is, in that sense, is not just, for people that are aging, but I think it's something
Right.
that plays a role like throughout your life. So I think routine
Hmm.
always gives our brain, that like some kind of constant in, a world that's continuously,
Changing.
speeding past and changing.
Right. Right. And again, like I said, moving them into a different building or into a different home. I've often said to family members, it's just like when you repot a plant, let the plant sit for a little bit and grow roots. Let that
Yeah.
plant just get accustomed to where it is. You don't pot a plant and then rip it out and put it in another pot and then put it in another pot and then move it to let it sit and gel. And the same with loved ones. Don't even go visit for a few days if you can help it. Let them get used to their own surroundings and their own routine on their own. And then the transition's much easier.
Yeah, and I think that's a great analogy. Thank you.
Hmm.
So, how can families navigate the emotional challenges that often come with dementia diagnosis for their loved ones?
So a diagnosis of dementia is crippling for the whole family. It's difficult for the person that's been diagnosed with it. It's difficult whether it's a spouse or your parent. It's such an emotional time for everybody. And I find very often I will get phone calls at the original diagnosis, and everyone's a hot mess. Very few times do I find that family members are all on the same page with the decision making. There's usually a lot of family dynamics. I think the family dynamics are more taxing and more of a challenge actually than dealing with the person that's been diagnosed with dementia, because everyone in the family has their own idea of what they think should happen. So education really is the key. If we can educate them on what's going to happen, and here are things you should and shouldn't do right off the bat, right at the get-go, how to handle the situation, stay very calm, allow them their independence, allow them what they deserve as a human being, independence and respect, without talking to them or around them like they're third party or they're a baby and they have to be, you don't know what you're doing. And now we have to do this because you're going to make bad decisions. Who wants to hear that? Good memory or
Mm.
bad memory, nobody wants to hear that. So they really deserve respect. I think another thing too, because I worked in elder law for so long, is many times family members wait until it's critical, like it's an emergency situation, before they get their power of attorney and healthcare surrogate in place. That is so critical to get that together before you wait until there's a memory problem. Because often, if it's too late, they won't allow that person to sign those paperwork, to put somebody in charge financially or to make health decisions. So, educating yourself is really good, and making sure your legal paperwork is where it needs to be. You may never get every family member on the same page, but at least if you can get a few that agree with specific things like that, it's going to be a much easier journey.
Okay, so I guess in that case, communication and clear
Yes,
collaboration between all of the members is probably the best thing in order to move forward.
absolutely. Because if you wait until it's a crisis, now you're making decisions with high emotion,
Hmm.
and everyone's fighting to make the best decision. It's just do it calmly, try and be proactive, and have
Yeah.
those conversations really with your parent or your spouse way ahead of time. If this happens, let's put together A, B, C, and D. So now it's done in a way that it's a calm, you can think about it, you can make sure their wishes are taken care of, versus bam, here comes the diagnosis, and now it's everyone's a hot mess.
Yeah, and I think you really hit a key point when you said like being proactive rather than being reactive. And I
Yes.
think that's
Yep.
just so, so, so critical, whether it is, for the legal paperwork and making these decisions, but also
Hmm.
in terms of taking care of brain health. And that really ties into my next question
Uh-huh.
of how are there any specific brain health exercises or cognitive activities that you recommend that adults practice and so do older adults so that they can keep their brain healthy and continuously sharp?
Absolutely. There are so many things, depending on the level of where they are with their dementia. A lot of them like to read. Playing Scrabble is a lot of fun. You can play Scrabble with them to get just their words together. Even those with high memory impairment, I'll walk in with my name tag and they'll look at it and stare at it and say, "Oh, you're Amy Decker." So they can still read. Very often, they're not going to be
Mhm.
able to read a novel. But if you can get their brain to match colors of things like puzzles, like that Sudoku or however it's pronounced. I can't even do that. But
I don't know. Is
numbers,
there?
I'm horrible with that. Numbers, Scrabble. Sometimes when I go into, because I bring lifelike baby dolls into memory care, and I will go in there and I always introduce myself as Amy. And then I have everybody raise their hand because I start it with the song. So that way, when I come in, if they don't remember who I am, there's a song that's called Once in Love with Amy. So I'll walk into the room and I'll say, "Who remembers who I am?" And if no one, then I just start singing Once in Love with Amy. And then I'll stop when I get to the with Amy part and let them finish it. So it just does something to kind of jog. Music is
Uh-huh.
huge. When you have dementia, the right side of your brain is what you retain. The left side of your brain is what you lose. So what they're retaining over here is music, um, uh, limericks when they were growing up, songs, prayers, those types of things. Those are stuck in there forever. You have people like Glenn Campbell or Tony Bennett that They both had dementia. They could get up and sing an entire 2-hour concert, but they couldn't
Mm.
form a full sentence and speak in a full sentence behind the stage. So if you can find things that involve music, even if they're agitated, I don't want to eat, I don't want to take a shower, start singing a song and march 'em right to the bathroom, and that music picks up on that side of the brain and that stays with them forever. So if you can do puzzles, if you can sing songs and stop in the middle of the song and let them finish. The other day I did Old MacDonald Had a Farm and stopped at the E-I-E-I-O, and they all loved that they did the E-I-E-I-O and they got to pick which animal was on the farm. And so just simple things. It's not a lot, but it's enough to get their brain going.
Yeah, and I think this, like what you said, really ties back to the idea of mental stimulation that we were talking about before,
Yeah,
especially when it comes to similarly to social support groups that give them the mental stimulation to wake up every day. I think
right,
giving these brain exercises and different cognitive activities, whether it be the music, different kinds of puzzles that they can do, I think all of
right.
it really help to sharpen the brain through as they continue to age.
I agree.
So, what does compassionate dementia care really look like, and how can we shift the conversations around aging and memory loss?
So compassion with dementia care means, again, meeting that individual in their reality. So it's not, Mom, this is your house. You've lived here for 30 years. This is where it, don't fight with them. You know, if they ask the same question 15 times, if they live within their reality, if they're looking for something, very often they'll say, I want to go home. I just want to go home. This isn't my home. If you put them in the car and drove them to their house, they wouldn't know where they were going and they would have no idea what that is. Often, if you live in their reality, it could just mean they're cold. When they think of
Mhm.
home, home was comfort. I was warm at home. They're hungry. When they think of home, home was comfort. They always had food in their belly. They're missing something. So if you can repeat what they say, you want to go home. Yes, I want to go home. You okay, so when you want to go home, it might be something as simple as they want a sweater on and that's it. So live within their reality versus fighting with them. That I think helps so much. Giving them the patience, the empathy, the respect. They deserve all of that. They've lived a long time creating the life that they have. And so fighting with them is never going to help. Create moments of joy and connection instead of saying, Hi, Mom, do you remember who I am? It's an open-ended question. They probably
Mhm.
know they know who you are because they know how you make them feel, but they might not remember your name or that you're their daughter. So now that's upsetting to you, that's upsetting to them. Walk in and say, "Mom, it's Amy. I'm here with you. Look, and I brought some cards. We're going to play cards together." Give them something to remember. Mom, it's Amy. I took the kids to the beach today. One time we went to the beach and you went out in the water. Do you remember that one? Give them a memory versus asking them for a memory. Give them something that's pleasant. So really it's, approaching it all with empathy, with patience, with confidence, and a smile on your face because they can read body language better than anyone.
Yeah, that's totally for sure. I think it's really about understanding, the shoes that they're walking and,
Yep.
stepping into their shoes and being in their shoes, I think is probably the most important that caregivers can practice in order to have both
Yes,
clear communication and also, allow for a happy caregiving process.
I agree.
So, how do you approach educating families or communities about dementia and brain health, especially when they're really new to this whole concept?
So there's so many bits and pieces. I even wrote a few notes down. I think one of the key pieces is really to stay engaged mentally, socially, physically, stay engaged with them. Challenge their minds with new activities, really try to nurture the relationship that you have with that person. We find many of them get very, very lonely, especially if they are put into a memory care or assisted living. So, one of the activities that's really helped is having everyone in your family send you a picture, a current picture, and maybe even an older picture of themselves, depending on where their memory is, and putting a storyboard together. You can say, Mom, this is Aunt Susan. Look at here's Aunt Susan's dog, Muffy. And then and you write the name underneath it. And then here is so and so. And here's me, Mom. And here's my daughter, Bailey. And they can write the names underneath it. So not only is it a project for them to work on, it's something that makes them feel good. And when you're not there with them, now they can stare at that and they feel like they've got company and they've got family and they get somebody with them. So it's a brain thing, it's a memory thing. I think also this is huge is staying on top of your eye and ear appointments. When your brain cannot see things or hear things clearly, and I have to say, when we sign a lot of our clients or patients up, I would say 75% either have hearing aids and don't wear them, or don't have them and they need them, or they have eyeglasses and don't wear them, or need them and don't have them at all. So if your brain isn't seeing what it needs to see and isn't hearing what it needs to hear, the sensory part of it is going to start declining, and you are going to see rapid decline. They even say your brain will make up sounds of its own just to have something in there. So often you'll have them say, someone's playing their TV really loud at night, and or someone's playing music. It's your brain trying to hear things. It's your eyes trying to. So if you don't have good sensory and healthy brain, healthy eye and ear, you are going to see a cognitive decline after a period of time. So staying on top of those doctor's appointments are critical.
Got it. So it's really about caregivers really being engaged with the
Yes,
patient and with their loved ones, but also, taking care of all these other medical stuff that comes along with dementia diagnosis. So it's really about not just focusing on brain health, but also these other aspects that tend to decline along with it, to making sure that we're not seeing, extreme and rapid progression, like you were saying.
absolutely. Yep, that's absolutely it.
Yeah, and finally, for our listeners, what is one key piece of advice that you'd give to anyone really looking to protect their brain health?
Um, like we had mentioned before, so if be proactive, try really hard to stay on top of your doctor's appointments, eating healthy, drinking healthy, living a balanced life. Some of that, even if you did do that, you may still have a decline, and you can't stop that once it starts. But if you can really stay on top of your health, what we eat, what we drink, how we talk to ourselves deep inside, what we watch on television, a lot of that stress can cause a lot of problems in our body. So just live a happy, healthy life as much as you can in a world that's crazy. We say, I've mentioned before in some of my support groups, our lives are like an EKG. It's an EKG. So it can go up for a little bit, then it's going to go down for a little bit. That's going to go up for a little bit. It's
Yeah.
going to go. And that's part of life. We appreciate the ups after we've lived that down so much more. If we had a flat line, we'd all be dead. So living our life in an EKG and staying positive, thinking positive, being proactive on staying healthy, or encouraging our loved ones to be healthy. I think that really is the key, because inevitably, if they're going to have dementia, we already know where that's headed. So the
Mhm.
longer we can do to keep our bodies healthy before we hit that time, if we ever do, the better off we are.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Thank you so much. And I just wanted to say, Miss Decker, thank you so much for taking the time to be here on the Cognitive Connections podcast. It was just truly amazing to learn about your work and the profound impact that you have made with the seniors that you work with on a day-to-day basis. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Of course, and it was really an honor to interview you. And to everyone, thank you so much for listening today to the Cognitive Connections podcast. And remember to keep your brain healthy, and see you next time.